Agenda for February 4th, 2021. The first order of business will be roll call, but however, I first need to read this. This meeting of the Budget Committee is being conducted electronically pursuant to Governor Bill Lee's Executive Order 16. I would ask for a motion that conducting the meeting electronically is necessary to protect public health, safety, and welfare in light of the coronavirus. I'll ask for that motion, and it'll also stand for our roll call.
So moved, Mr. Chair.
Motion,
Second.
Commissioner Gooch, second, Commissioner Johnson. Call roll, please, Mark.
Mr. Piercy,
Yes.
Mr. Stevens,
Yes.
Mr. Allen,
Yes.
Commissioner Dodd,
Yes.
Commissioner Gooch,
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson,
Yes.
Commissioner P.
Yes, motion carries. Now I'll call on Vice Chairman Gooch for approval of the minutes from January the 7th.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I have read those minutes, find everything to be in order. My motion is to approve the minutes.
Second.
I have a motion and a second from Commissioner, I guess that was Piercy, not sure. At any rate, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, call roll, please.
Mr. Piercy,
Yes.
Commissioner Stevens,
Yes.
Commissioner Allen,
Yes.
Commissioner Dodd,
Yes.
Mr. Gooch, Mr. Gooch,
Yes.
Mr. Johnson,
Yes.
Commissioner P.
Yes. Okay, motion carries. Next
Chairman
up,
P. Chairman P. Is
Yes,
your
sir.
mic on?
I think so.
I need to pull it up just a little bit.
How's that?
Raise it up just a little bit, maybe. There we go.
Get it up about eyeball level, maybe we can hear. I'm a little bit muffled behind this mask, but if anybody can't hear me, let me know. Thank you. All right, next up is our investment report, and we'll call on Mr. Beatty.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Our bank funds are at 40 basis points, which is down, I think, 2 from last month. But what I did want to point out, we had a couple of bids this last month. In the first one, we were able to lock in 42 basis points for a year. And knowing that things are dropping and probably not going to increase in the next year, we took that and thought that was great. So we bid again to see how deep the water was. And that bid dropped to 30 basis points from the 42. So we did not accept that because with our deal, that means the LGIP rate would have to drop below 4 basis points for our rate to drop, and we feel like that's not likely to drop. If it did, not much more, and we're already 10 basis points above it. So we turned that down, but we're just always feeling the market if we feel like there's some strength where we can lock in some better return, and we just glad we got what we got, but there was no real appetite for any more.
That to conclude your report.
Yes, sir.
Anyone have any questions? We got a motion from Commissioner Johnson to approve the
Second.
report. Second, Commissioner Piercy. Any discussion? Call roll, please.
Mr. Piercy,
Yes.
Commissioner Stevens,
Yes.
Commissioner Allen,
Yes.
Commissioner Dodd,
Yes.
Commissioner Gooch,
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson,
Yes.
Commissioner P.
Yes. Okay, motion carries. Thank you, Ted.
Thank you, sir.
All right, next is our fund condition report. Of course, Lisa's here with us.
Yes, sir. We'll start with the development tax. In January, we received $441,750. That brings our total for the year to $3,757,125. Our cash at the end of January totaled $427,483,000, with $345,574,000 being operating funds, $81,909,000 being borrowed funds. if you look at the general fund, we'll talk about this more in depth later, but you see quite a bit of difference between our cash balance in the general fund at the end of January this year compared to last year. 10 million of that has to do with federal funds coming in. If there are no questions on the cash report, I'll move to the review of revenue. With that 10 million coming in, it's really skews looking at the general fund where it is showing that we've received 71%. That 10 million is really throwing that off. But even if I take that 10 million out, we are in what I would call the green, still in the general fund, compared to what our budget is for all sources. We're fine in 118 as well. The tax roll is pretty good when you look at how far that they had collected at the end of January compared to the other years. It's almost, it's over 2.5% more at that time than it was in the previous year. Of course, that just means that, you know, as we go through the year, you'll probably see it getting closer and closer to the other years. Items of note, hotel motel tax has decreased 24% compared to last year at this time. That's actual numbers. Sales tax countywide from all governments is increased 13% over last year for the same time period.
You think that's due to the internet sales tax? And
I believe 100% it's due to internet sales.
going to be any more changes in that, or is that basically where we'll be working from in the future?
Well, the fact that they dropped the limit of those businesses that collected, it used to be if you collected more than $500,000 in internet sales, then you reported your
Right.
sales tax. July 1, it dropped to $100,000. So that just picked up more businesses who were then required to collect and remit sales tax. So I think that is a big part of this, that's that money that we've been missing for a lot of years.
So the question is, who's policing this for us? The state? All right. Thank you. You've heard the report. Are there any questions for Lisa?
Just basically, you don't see any red flags on the horizon, do you?
Not for this year. I mean, I feel like, we budget conservatively so that we can at least feel good that we'll make what we budgeted, on our revenues. That I don't like the times that we have to decrease our revenue, our estimates.
Well, I know it's kind of like asking how high is up, but, motion to approve, Mr. Chairman.
Motion
Second.
and a second. Commissioner Dodd, any further discussion? Hearing none, call roll, please.
Commissioner Piercy,
Yes.
Commissioner Stevens,
Yes.
Commissioner Allen,
Yes.
Commissioner Dodd,
Yes.
Commissioner Gooch,
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson,
Yes.
Commissioner P.
Yes. Okay, motion carries. Okay, next up is risk management, financial report. Ed, welcome.
Good evening. On the 264 fund report, on the tracker, you will see that the calendar year numbers, revenue and expenditures are the same as the year to date. So for both of those, for the month of January, you had $7,705,586 in revenue compared to expenditures of $6,117,022. and the difference is a positive $1,588,564. Below that, you'll see total enrollment for the month of January at 6,326. For the fiscal year totals, you will see $43,037,173 in revenue, compared to $49,899,355 in expenditures, for a negative $6,862,183. On the 266 fund, for the month of January, your graph shows that we were down compared to this same time in January for the month of 2020. And the next page on the tracker, you will see that for 2019-2020, in the month of January, you had 54,969 claims paid, compared to 2021 dollars are $27,973.08. When you look at the year-to-date, year-to-year we're up compared to last year. Last year was $278,023.38 year-to-date. Claims paid compared to this year at $354,257.60. For the month of January, just to give you the comparison, I try to break that down a little bit. The workers, out of that $27,973.08, the workers' comp was $1,022.36. OGI was $26,950.72. For the county attorney expenses fiscal year, for January, it's $24,250.02, compared to last year at $31,638.85. And that concludes my report, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Any questions for Mr. Elam? Hearing none, well, I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to approve, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Gooch makes a motion.
Second.
Second, Commissioner Piercy. Any other discussion? Call roll, please.
Commissioner Piercy?
Yes.
Commissioner Stevens?
Yes.
Commissioner Allen?
Yes.
Commissioner Dodd?
Yes.
Commissioner Gooch?
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Commissioner P?
Yes, motion carries.
Mr. Chairman, I have one thing before we get into the ASO fees. And next month, I have asked Cigna to come in and break down the associated cost with COVID-19 and to present that to the insurance committee next meeting. Would y'all have any interest in that same report being presented to this committee, bringing it forward?
That'd be fine.
How it has affected our insurance plan?
Please.
You mean put it on the agenda? Okay, I'll do it. All right, next you have the bid went out for our third-party administrator for the ASO fee analysis you have in front of you. It's for medical, pharmacy, stop-loss, dental, and vision. And I have Jake Davis in the audience with Mercer. He's the one that's put it together. They handled the bid process. And if you don't mind, he's going to give you a brief review of the numbers and how we came up with the spreadsheet.
Thank you, Mr. Elam. So you will see in front of you a spreadsheet showing the RFP that we recently did for, as Mr. Elam said, medical, pharmacy, dental, vision, and stop loss. And this is for a third-party administrator. And these are for products that will go into effect on January 1, 2022. So we started this RFP process in October and did the analysis, and kind of bids were due in December, did the analysis over the last month and a half. We were pleased to have 5 bidders on the medical. We were the current provider is Cigna, or the current vendor is Cigna, and they were the lowest cost over the first year, the first 3 years, and the first 5 years. So the way the contract is written is a 3-year agreement. with 2 one-year extensions, so we kind of looked at it on an annual basis and a life of a contract basis as well. And you'll see that some of the other bidders range from anywhere from $1 million to $2 or $3 million annually more. Cigna actually decreased their medical ASO fees by $37,000. So the recommendation was made to stay with them for medical, stop loss, and pharmacy due to savings and less employee disruption. On the next page, you will see the dental and vision bids, and they followed a similar process. Cigna did decrease their dental fees. Vision stayed the same, but in all instances, the decrease of the fees was great, but the disruption to move carriers would have been pretty significant and didn't, according to the Risk Management Committee, didn't really make up for any savings on those 2 products. So the recommendation from the Risk Management Committee was to stay with Cigna for medical, dental, vision, pharmacy, and stop loss due to those factors involved.
Thank you, sir.
Welcome.
You may have a question or something.
How was this received out of your committee, Commissioner Gooch? I said, how was this received from your committee?
Purchasing.
Okay. We voted, I think, unanimous to send it on. And I think on the vision and dental part, that they found that more people would lose their doctor if they changed to another one that might have saved a few pennies. And so the committee did recommend the whole packet for Cigna.
Okay, thank you.
And I'll move
Alan,
for approval.
Oh, excuse me, go ahead.
I'll move for approval.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. Commissioner Allen, you want to make a statement on any of this? I know you're on the insurance committee.
Yes, I was just going to share that, correct me if I'm wrong, Ed, but I think the vision and the dental, that is a 100% employee paid anyway. So the cost savings there, well, we would have passed on to them, but we think that it would have been a big hassle factor and a lot of disruption in their network. So that was the reason that we stayed with that.
That is correct.
Okay. We have a motion and a second. Any other questions or discussion? Call roll, please.
Commissioner Piercy?
Yes.
Commissioner Stevens?
Yes.
Commissioner Allen?
Yes.
Commissioner Dodd?
Yes.
Commissioner
Yes.
Gooch?
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Commissioner P?
Yes, motion carries. Thank you, Ed.
Thank you. Have a good night.
All right. Okay, next up is a general fund budget transfer for the circuit court clerk. And is Melissa here? Please go ahead.
I'm just would like to request an approval for a general fund budget amendment for a one-time update to our jury system software for $7,781.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to approve. This is Robert Stevens.
You recognize Mr. Stevenson. Commissioner Stevenson, you made the motion to approve this transfer.
Second.
And second, Commissioner Dodd. Any other questions for Melissa? Ms. Harrell? Hearing none, call roll, please.
Commissioner Piercy?
Yes.
Commissioner Stevens?
Yes.
Commissioner Allen?
Yes.
Commissioner Dodd?
Yes.
Commissioner Gooch?
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Commissioner P?
Yes, motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next on the agenda is the general fund budget amendment for the election commission. Is Mr. Farley with us?
I'll take this.
Lisa will handle that for us then.
This amendment is requested to appropriate the funds in the correct expenditure account for expenses that were related to the August 2020 and November 2020 elections that will be funded or fund the Tennessee Department of Elections. The original grant was for $266,200, and it was for COVID-related expenses related to the elections. The total amount that was spent was $260,947.
So we're looking at something that's not new money.
No, it's just really a cleanup to recognize where the expenses actually were spent,
Okay, so
correct account numbers.
Motion to approve.
okay, Commissioner Dodd makes a motion to approve. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Commissioner Piercy seconds the motion. Any other questions for Finance Director? Hearing none, call roll, please.
Commissioner Piercy,
Yes.
Commissioner Stevens,
Yes.
Commissioner Allen,
Yes.
Commissioner Dodd,
Yes.
Commissioner Gooch,
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson,
Yes.
Commissioner P.
Yes. Motion carries.
Chairman P., I have
Yes.
I have a question for Lisa. The way I read these numbers, there's money left over, or am I reading it wrong from the grant?
Is there money left from the grant?
Yes.
I mean, he didn't spend it all, so it's reimbursement.
Okay, the whole grant was spent then?
All of it that we were allocated was not spent,
Okay,
but we will only get what we spent.
okay, thank you.
Okay, any other questions? If not, we'll move on to the next item, which is a general fund budget amendment and transfer for fire rescue. And we've got the other Mr. Farley here. Welcome, Chief.
Mr. Chairman, I have two budget amendments. Which one would you like me to do first?
Let's see which one I've got on my,
Transfer from unassigned is on the iPad first.
Pardon?
Transfer from unassigned fund balance, 20,000.
Commissioner Johnson, you're recognized. We can do that. One of these is asking for money out of unassigned, and the other is a transfer. So any way y'all want to go about it's fine. But go ahead and continue.
Okay. Due to coronavirus and having 5 to 6 people out at a time, we pretty much blew through our overtime money. So I requested the mayor to take money out of, I think it was $20,460 out of unassigned fund balance, and to move $10,230 into part-time, and then $8,000 into overtime, with the remaining being the take care of Social Security pensions and the unemployment or Medicare. And we are applying for reimbursement through some of these FEMA grants. Kerry Clark with EMA is filing that for us.
Well, there's a possibility we may see some of that revenue back.
Hopefully.
Okay, and indication is we want to continue, Commissioner Johnson, so continue with your next one.
Okay. The other one is I want to move $4,380 out of furniture and fixtures, $4,000 out of travel to make it $8,380 into maintenance and repair of vehicles, and then I want to move $1,220 out of disposal fees back into $499. We purchased a dumpster. So we want to remove that, put that money back in that fund, and by buying that dumpster, we don't need the fees anymore because solid waste is saving that money for us by emptying our dumpster for us once a week.
Okay, you've heard the request. Do I hear a motion or any questions?
This came out of public safety with full commitment in it.
It came through unanimously on all the requests.
Motion to approve both.
Motion, Commissioner Johnson.
Second with a question.
Commissioner Piercy has a second, and go ahead with your question.
Why do you have to buy your dumpster?
Well, we bought one of those big open top dumpsters because, I mean, solid waste don't have those. We had to buy our own dumpster, and I'm just reimbursing that money back in that account and doing away with our disposal fees because we were paying Republic. I don't know how much it was, so much a month to come by every week, once a week, and dump our garbage cans.
Do you know offhand how much your fee is for them to pick your trash up?
It was, I think it was $100-something, $80-something a month.
Has it always been that way?
Well, this is for the Barfield station. At the Walt Hill station, Republic picks it up for free because it's right there at their office complex.
The reason I'm questioning this, it's odd that we have garbage and dump service, and one of our county offices is having to buy a dumpster and pay for dumping fees.
Well,
A little odd.
well, that's by buying a dumpster, then solid waste comes by and empties that for us. So we're actually saving that disposal fee now.
Thank you.
I hope that made sense.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Are there any other questions or discussion? Hearing none, call roll, please.
Commissioner Piercy?
Yes.
Commissioner Stevens?
Yes.
Commissioner Allen?
Yes.
Commissioner Dodd?
Yes.
Commissioner Gooch?
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Commissioner P?
Yes.
Thank you.
Motion carries. Okay, next is a application for child support grant for juvenile court. And do we have anybody here? If not, I think Lisa's going to pick this one up too.
Yes, sir. This is one that you see every year, and it is the application for next year's numbers from 21, 22. And what this grant does is help pay part of the salaries of one of our magistrates that listens to child support cases.
This one does have
It has a match.
matching funds.
Right. They will pay 2/3 of the time that the magistrate spends in these 4D cases.
But this is giving us 75% of helping us pay. This
Right.
grant is giving us 75% of the funds to help pay for the salary.
Well, 2/3, yeah.
2/3,
66,
sorry.
yeah.
Have any other questions for Lisa on this? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to approve.
Mr. Johnson makes a motion.
Second.
Second, Commissioner Stevens. Appreciate that. Thank you. By the way, I think we're the ones, the commission has actually asked to expand this court, so this,
Right. We've done this grant for several years now, and we had the magistrate and then found that there was funding. So we had the body before we found the funding.
there you go. Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Call roll, please.
Commissioner Piercy?
Yes.
Commissioner Stevens?
Yes.
Commissioner Allen?
Yes.
Commissioner Dodd?
Yes.
Commissioner Gooch?
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Commissioner P?
Yes. Okay, next up is the Ambulance Service Fund Budget Amendment. Good evening.
Good evening, everyone. We are requesting to transfer $60,000 from our paraprofessionals line item 55130-133 into our convalescent part-time personnel payroll 55190-169. And you don't have this information. Lisa just discovered this afternoon. We will need to transfer from one Social Security line, Medicare, and pensions into the other. So those line items are 118-55130-201. We need to transfer $7,440 into the 55190-201. We also are requesting to transfer $1,740 from our one Medicare line item, 55130-212 into 55190-212. And last but not least, the pensions. We're requesting to transfer $1,020 from 55130-204 into 55190-204. Do you have any questions?
I do have a question. Maybe
Okay.
Carl can answer, or you may too. Similar to Chief Farley's situation, since these people are on leave and the problems there, will we be able to try to get a refund on this or money back from the state for the COVID problem here, or will that fall under that?
We are working on reimbursements. Carrie Clark at EMA, we are sending everything to her, so we're hoping to get some of the reimbursements.
Okay.
But it probably won't be this year,
No, it probably won't be this year.
maybe 2 or 3 years from now.
Right.
So the initial, what we're looking at on what the members are seeing is a $60,000 change. This other has got to do with your
The fringe benefits.
your
that go
benefits.
with
So
it.
Yes, sir.
just so the committee, what you're seeing and what she's saying here is something we caught just before the meeting, and they've tried to get this out, and we didn't get it back. I don't assume it's
No, it's not
been
on,
put
it's not on the iPad or
yet.
SharePoint.
So that's the difference in what you're seeing and what she's asking there.
And I don't have the total. Do you have the total of the?
No,
Okay.
We'll have these for the full commission if this goes through. So you've
Mr. Chairman, this basically a housekeeping measure, just transferring
it's moving the
in-house
60
money, correct?
Really, the base is the 60,000 plus the fringe that goes with it, and that's what she's
Right.
adding.
Okay. But this has all been budgeted to start with, just transferring money. I will say this, everybody at State Farm involved with the vaccine, they're doing a fantastic job. My wife was out there Monday, and from start to finish, it was 1 hour and about 5 minutes. So they're doing a fantastic job. And they were standing out there in the cold, just as patient and just as nice as could be. So you couldn't ask for anything any better. So motion to approve.
Have a motion to approve. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Commissioner Dodge seconds the motion. Any other discussion? Hearing none, call roll, please.
Commissioner Piercy?
Yes.
Commissioner Stevens?
Yes.
Commissioner Allen?
Yes.
Commissioner Dodd?
Yes.
Commissioner Gooch?
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Commissioner P?
Yes. And motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you, Carl. All right, next is a application for the Bureau of Justice Assistant Grant for the Recovery Courts. Trish here, out there, headed up this way. Welcome.
We are requesting permission for Recovery Court to apply for a BJA grant, or the Bureau of Justice Assistance Grant, to implement some additional programming with our DUI treatment court. It is a $500,000 over 48-month grant with a 25% match. So that would be $125,000 over 4 years that we're requesting from the county. The intention of this grant, right now all of our programming is during the daytime, and we would like to implement some afternoon and evening classes for multiple DUI offenders so that they can get treatment, and we can hopefully keep them from driving while intoxicated in the future. Again, it's a 48-month period, and it would hopefully allow us to hire a case manager and a second clinician, and also the technological equipment to support that.
Trish, you said $500,000 over 4 years or 2 years?
48 months, so that's 4 years. Math is hard, but I think that's 4 years.
Okay. Okay, this was seen in public safety and was approved by the committee there. And basically what it's going to let her do is expand her program.
Mr. Chairman, this is Commissioner Allen. I'll make a motion to approve as presented.
Commissioner Allen is recognized, and her motion is to approve the request.
Second.
I have a second from Vice Chairman Gooch. Any other discussion or questions for Trish? Hearing none, call roll.
Commissioner Piercy?
Yes.
Commissioner Stevens?
Yes.
Commissioner Allen?
Yes.
Commissioner Dodd?
Yes.
Commissioner Gooch?
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Commissioner P?
Yes. Again, motion carries. Okay, you've also got the next one, if you want to go ahead and explain that one.
Annually, we receive funding from the Tennessee Department of Mental Health and Substance Abuse Services. These are annual grants that we have to reapply for. There is no match. There are 3 different grants, one for adult recovery court totaling $107,500, one for mental health court totaling $30,000, and one for veterans court totaling $70,000. Those funds are used to pay partial salaries for our staff members to take it off the county roll. So I would just request that we have permission to go ahead and apply for those.
And as she said, this is something we've done year after year with this program.
Motion approved.
Commissioner Dodd makes a motion to approve.
I'll second.
Commissioner Allen, second.
And I have a question for Trish before she leaves after we vote.
You're recognized. Go ahead.
It's not related to this motion, so we'll go ahead and take care of this and then I'll ask her.
Okay. Any other questions pertinent to this motion? If not, call roll.
Commissioner Piercy?
Yes.
Commissioner Stevens?
Yes.
Commissioner Allen?
Yes.
Commissioner Dodd?
Yes.
Commissioner Gooch?
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Commissioner P?
Yes. Motion carries. And Commissioner Allen, you're recognized.
Thank you. Trish, I know the sports betting, that revenue that's coming in is brand new, and I know 5% of it is supposed to be set aside for mental health issues, probably primarily related to addiction, maybe gambling addiction, I think, but I don't know how strict that statute is. I was just curious, have you heard anything about if any of that revenue is going to filter into support mental health court?
I have not received anything from the State Department of Mental Health on that as of yet. You may or may not be aware, but one of the key players of that was killed in an accident a couple weeks ago. So they are trying to appoint a replacement for her, and that is typically where we get the trickle down from. So I assume if it's going to have something to do with us, we will hear from Commissioner Williams pretty quickly.
Okay, great. Could you just keep us in the loop on that as you get any updates?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next item is a general fund budget amendment and transfer for the sheriff's office. Welcome, Preble.
Have several transfers out of the general fund. The first one will be increase uniforms from communication equipment by $25,000. The second will be to increase our extradition or transportation of prisoners from $25,000 by taking that from food supplies and communication equipment. And then the third one is to provide preventative maintenance for the chiller for maintenance agreement, and that's coming from other equipment, an amount of $3,006. Sorry. And to provide additional funds for custodial supplies of $20,000 from building improvement to food service equipment.
So no new money on any of these three?
No, sir. These are all in budget.
These were also looked at in public safety and approved.
You also have a revenue amendment that you want to do?
You want me to do that with this, the vehicles?
Up to the committee, yeah. Okay.
Y'all like to have them all together, or?
Well, it's all this would be from the general fund, so.
Let's just finish up this one first then. Do I hear a motion?
Motion to approve the transfer.
Mr. Gooch makes a motion to approve.
This is Commissioner Allen. I'll second.
Okay, we'll take Commissioner Allen second. Thank you, Commissioner Piercy. Any other questions for Preble? Hearing none, call roll, please.
Commissioner Piercy?
Yes.
Commissioner Stevens?
Yes.
Commissioner Allen?
Yes.
Commissioner Dodd?
Yes.
Commissioner Gooch?
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Commissioner P?
Yes. Okay, motion carries. Okay, Preble, please continue.
Another general fund amendment is of $60,215 that we've recovered from insurance on vehicle accidents. And I need to put that into our 718 new vehicles. And I would like to add to this that all 4 of these wrecks were not at fault, and all 4 people that we arrested for DUI. So, and 3 of them occurred on I-24. And we're lucky we don't have officers hurt with those.
Just kind of a sidebar question. Did y'all take advantage of the lease program?
None of these were leased vehicles. These were all older model vehicles. And unfortunately, I was only going to buy 1 vehicle.
But you meant to drop this into the, you're going to increase?
Increase my 718 new vehicles.
Motion approved.
Have a motion, Commissioner Dodd.
Second.
Second, Commissioner Piercy. Any more questions? Hearing none, call roll, please.
Commissioner Piercy?
Yes.
Commissioner Stevens?
Yes.
Commissioner Allen?
Yes.
Commissioner Dodd?
Yes.
Commissioner Gooch?
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Commissioner P?
Yes. And again, motion carries. Okay, now we have a drug fund budget amendment.
I'm seeking approval for a budget amendment to provide additional funds for vehicle repairs, vet services, and supplies for our drug fund, or in the amount of $38,000.
Okay, you've heard the request. Do we have any questions? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to approve.
Motion, Commissioner Johnson.
Second.
Commissioner Gooch, seconds. Any other questions on repairing these vehicles? Hearing none, call roll.
Commissioner Piercy?
Yes.
Commissioner Stevens?
Yes.
Commissioner Allen?
Yes.
Commissioner Dodd?
Yes.
Commissioner Gooch?
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Commissioner P?
Yes. Motion carries. Thank you, Preble. All right, next up is a general purpose school fund budget amendment. Is Mr. Spurlock, I see you there.
Yeah, Ms. Spurlock's here. Good evening, everyone. We are requesting a budget amendment from our 141 for a 2% non-recurring raise from starting in June, going back to January 1 and ending on June the 30th of 2021. This funding for this non-recurring raise will come from additional state DEP funding in the instructional component in the amount of $1,770,000 and the additional $1,330,831 from federal ESSER 2.0 funds. These non-recurring raises will be for our certified, our classified, and our bus contractors. I would add that the state only covered the certified amount. Of course, we believe that all of our employees deserve this raise, and they've gone above and beyond the call of duty during this pandemic. So we want to make a motion to approve this non-recurring 2% raise as presented.
Mr. Chairman, this is Commissioner Allen. We did discuss this in Health and Ed, and we also recommend that this is an equitable distribution of these funds. So I'd like to make a motion that we approve.
Okay, we have a motion to approve from Chairman Allen. A second from Commissioner Johnson. Any questions or further discussion?
Chairman P.
You recognize.
Have to not vote on this one.
Understood. Rule 10, is that right? Okay. Okay, call roll.
Evening, Mr. Chair. I
Oh,
thought Rule
excuse me.
10 allowed us to vote with a clear conscience. Remind me? So with a Rule 10, we can vote.
Yes, you can.
I'd feel better not to vote if I have that option.
That is. Certainly do.
Well, then you just pass if you don't want to vote.
Okay, any further discussion? Okay, hearing none, call roll, please.
Commissioner Piercy?
Pass.
Commissioner Stevens?
Yes.
Commissioner Allen?
Yes.
Commissioner Dodd?
Yes.
Commissioner Gooch?
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Commissioner P?
Yes, and motion carries. Thank you, Bill. So,
Thank you.
all right. Next item is a solid waste fund transfer, and here comes Mr. Nolan. Welcome back.
Sir, good evening. We're requesting to transfer some $6,800 from our site development line item into our rentals line item. You may remember back in the winter, early winter, our Eagleville building burned in our convenience center, so we rented a mini mobile. So we need the money to finish this budget year to pay the rent on that thing.
In case y'all don't recognize him, he's the guy that's been coming up here with big bushy white beard for the last few months.
Mr. Chairman,
You recognize, Commissioner.
we discussed this in Public Works and felt like it was a good use of funds, and we approved it, and I will make a motion to approve as well.
Have a motion.
Second.
Second, Commissioner Piercy. Any other questions for Mac? Hearing none, call roll, please.
Commissioner Piercy?
Yes.
Commissioner Stevens?
Yes.
Commissioner Allen?
Yes.
Commissioner Dodd?
Yes.
Commissioner Gooch?
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Commissioner P?
Yes. Okay, motion carries there.
We also have the contract for the telephones we talked about.
Go ahead.
I think that will go to,
Or,
I think that goes straight to commission.
oh, it doesn't go here?
Yeah, I don't think we
Okay.
put it on our, yeah.
All right, thank you, Mac.
Thank you.
Okay, next is a general fund budget amendment for health insurance and change, that's due to changes in insurance, and Lisa's going to handle this for us.
So there's this is the time of year, you get this every year when we reevaluate our budget estimates for health insurance for all the different functions in the general fund and solid waste. The total change would be $17,980, with $17,100 coming from our pooled account, and the rest is within other functions. You can see the lines, the departments that needed to be fixed is GIS. We were able to move money in the assessor from reappraisal to assessor, district attorney, victims assistance program, that's domestic violence, stormwater, and then we have a movement in county attorney to cover some disability insurance on that one.
So no new money to,
No, sir, it's just reallocating.
this is something she normally does this time of year.
Approve.
Commissioner Dodd makes a motion to approve.
Let me ask just for ease to do both of these, because in 19 and 20, it's the same theory. It is the, one is the general fund and the other one is the solid waste, and it's the same type situation. It just is correcting their health insurance lines.
Commissioner Dodd, would you?
Yeah, having reviewed both, I would let my motion cover both.
So that's 19, 20, and, yeah, 19 and 20, sorry, just those two. So we do have a motion to cover those changes and a second from Commissioner Johnson. Are there any other questions for Lisa on these amendments to the health insurance cost? Call roll.
Commissioner Piercy?
Yes.
Commissioner Stevens?
Yes.
Commissioner Allen?
Yes.
Commissioner Dodd?
Yes.
Commissioner Gooch?
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Commissioner P?
Yes. Okay, motion carries. Thank you, Lisa. Okay, next thing up is a general fund budget amendment and transfer for the county mayor, and I assume, Bill, you'll take care of this one.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. What this amendment does, it's a request to recognize the contributions made by the Rogers Group, Blue Water Industries, Smyrna Ready Mix, and Wright Brothers Construction. This is our Rutherford County. Last year, if you remember hearing or participated, last year I challenged the county employees to do a community outreach at Lane Agra, and we packed 50,000 meals last February, and about 2 weeks after we did that, Each one of those meals feeds a family of 6, and we gave them out to all of our food banks, Salvation Army, Greenhouse Ministries, church pantries, etc. 2 weeks after we did that, COVID hit, and those meals just disappeared. So I increased the challenge this year to 60,000 meals, and contacted each one of those industries and raised the money privately. They both committed to $5,000 apiece to help pay for that.
5,400.
Yeah.
5,400 is actually what they committed.
Okay, so we have over 300 county employees that have chosen to sign up, whether it's be packing the meals or moving, the bags of beans and rice, or stacking on the crates and packing, etc. So it's going to be another good time. We are COVID spaced this year. Last year we had 12 people per table. They've cut it down to where they're spread out, only going to be 6. I don't think we'll be able to do it in the same time because less people. So we're going ahead and paying for the University of Iowa to go ahead and pre-package some of those meals for us and ship them in, and we can hand them out that day. So what this budget transfer is, we'll take it from one.
Recognize the revenue.
Yeah, it's recognizing revenue.
And the expense. And then you've
Okay,
got another one. You've got another one.
Okay.
Flip, go to the next page. The next page.
The next increase, do you want to vote on that one, or you want to do both of them?
Let's continue unless I hear committee.
So this year, because of so many different things we have been having to advertise in the paper and send out legal notices. What I'm asking here is, I had an original travel budget of $9,000, and because of COVID, we haven't traveled anywhere. There's been no County Mayors Association meetings or conventions or anything else. I didn't use it at all. And because of our increase for legal notices for things that we put out to bid through purchasing, we had to dip in, and I'm going to take this out of travel as my request tonight and put it into the legal notices category.
So you've heard the explanation there, basically moving money around to cover cost of advertising for extra meetings that we've had to have, and then the monies that were donated to us.
Correct.
I hear a motion to that effect.
Looking forward to it. Motion to approve.
Second.
Mr. Johnson and Mr. Dodd. Okay, thank you, guys. Any questions? Discussion? Hearing none, call roll.
Commissioner Piercy?
Yes.
Commissioner Stevens?
Yes.
Commissioner Allen?
Yes.
Commissioner Dodd?
Yes.
Commissioner Gooch?
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Commissioner P?
Yes. Okay, motion carries. So that's got 2122, and we're looking at general fund budget amendment for emergency rental assistance.
No, we got to do 22.
Oh, the emergency rental assistance contract, okay. And who's going to cover that one? Mayor?
I'll start out with that, and I may ask for Lisa's assistance, but let me give you some background for those who weren't at purchasing yesterday that heard the explanation. So on January the 11th, I received information that because of our population being over 200,000 population, we were going to be getting a grant for right at $10 million. It's actually $9,999,302.40. And what this grant is going to be expended for, it's Shelby County, Davidson County, Knox County, and us are the 4 that exceed that population. And it is to pay for emergency rental. It's called the Emergency Rental Assistance Program. When Reba called and told me that she was sending all the information to me on this grant, I had already talked to THDA, who had called and said that we were getting the money, and they said, we can handle that for you. And I said, well, we don't have a staff that can handle the complexity of distributing that kind of funds in a very short period of time, because the money has to be obligated by the end of September and it has to be spent by the end of December of this year. And so I started inquiring as to who he was using at THDA, because when I was in the Senate, I realized that his staff was not large enough to handle something this size either. So found out that it was a company that we had done business with before called Horne, Horne, LLP. And they have the ability to handle the distribution of paying the rental fees for those who it's got to be COVID related. So not only will it pay back rents in the arrears, but will also pay for utility bills going through this process that are COVID related. In my opinion, it's saving some people's lives and being kicked out of their apartments and possibly allowing them to purchase food to feed their kids and themselves. I said, if there's a way we're going to do this, we're not going to give that money up and let somebody else take it. This comes directly from the U.S. Department of the Treasury. Otherwise, it would go back. And if we don't spend it by the end of this year, we'll lose it. There's a lot of people in our community that needs this. So we made contact directly to Horne Incorporated. I went around THDA, made the contact with Miss Anna Strobel. She's one of the partners in this firm. They have assured us that they will set up a phone bank of at least 12 to 15 people. They will be kind of the imaginary workshop as far as the office and distribution. They'll certify these folks, make sure that they qualify. The payments will not be made directly to them. It will be made to their apartment complex or directly to Middle Tennessee Electric, Atmos, or Murfreesboro Electric, Smyrna Water and Gas, etc. And then, of course, it'll be audited. I was able to just ask her what she's going to charge us, because 10% of this amount is allowed for administration fees. And when I went to THDA, Mr. Ralph Perry said it was going to be the whole 10%. And so I went around him to Horne and negotiated a deal at 4%. So we'll only pay Horne 4% to handle that. We will handle everything else here, so it will be our face. It will be on our website. It will be, Ashley will be in contact with all the other PIOs for the other cities. We'll be reaching out to other participating partners in the city and county, churches, any type of senior citizen groups to spread the word that these funds are available. We're going to really publicize the telephone number, where to go on our website. So it will be, we'll need all of our commissioners, all of our city council pushing this, trying to get that money out. It's almost $1 million a month between now and the end of the year that we have to distribute. So we're blessed to be getting these funds to help our citizens. And we're excited about it, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. I'm glad we've got this opportunity, and I appreciate you digging into this and saving us at least 66% there, sounds like.
Well,
of course, we may have other costs added in there on our end. But
what Lisa and I have talked about, and Reba as well, we probably need to take some of that additional 6% for administration cost out of that and hire some folks part-time to be our eyes and ears between now and the end of the year, making sure that they're doing what we expect them to do, or we can help other people. Not that we want all the phone calls coming in here. They'll go through our website, we'll advertise that phone call, they'll come in, they're thinking they're talking directly to Rutherford County, and that'll go to that phone bank, and they will take care of the assistance from there.
Chairman, will that consideration and choice of potential part-time people run through one of our committees as opposed to the mayor's office?
I don't.
Wait a minute. I'm not sure what you're asking.
Mayor indicated that perhaps the remaining 6% that can go to administration, we may choose to hire some people part-time to play a role.
Right. We'll have there's an amendment following. And I'm not sure, honestly, today, how we will need those funds. There is an amount for part-time. There's an amount for one position. In thinking that we need at least a point person here that helps monitor the program, and is the liaison between Rutherford County and
it'll be
and
audited.
And so it is one person. As far as asking who will they report to, yet to be determined. It's yet to be determined what exactly we need to.
Understood.
But it's in the amendment, and so what is it? There is one position and an amount for part-time.
Our launch date is March 1st, so we have a very short.
That's the intent.
That's the intent, because the state's planning on launching the same time statewide. So we'd like to coordinate that with them, because THDA got Ashley's telephone number out, and she started getting phone calls, and she was a nervous wreck day before yesterday, and thinking it was going to blow her phone up. People getting in line because they hear about it. But we want to do the advertisement all at one time, let people know here's the number to call, 615, whatever it may be. And we have the contract. Lisa sent it back to them today. They'll have their attorneys review it, send it back to us if there's any changes in that contract. But it's a.
So the agreement that you've got is draft, and it's still fluid. I think it's solid on the amount that they're going to charge Rutherford County. It's fluid in the amount. If you look at the last part of it, we want to tie down what is Horn's expectations of Rutherford County, and then hopefully craft what our expectations of them. So that part is still fluid, hopefully to be done by commission time.
Right, okay. I would just like to I'd like to suggest some committee oversight of who might get hired. And when these funds are expended, I would like to have some accountability of who gets hired. So I just want that to be part of the minutes.
Sure, I can come back and report that person. I made a call to that person today, but I'm not going to mention his name. Matter of fact, he's in the hospital right now, but just can't tell you his name, but pray for him, that person. And hopefully he has this experience, did it with the city of Murfreesboro, and he knows all the regulations. So once he gets better, then it's a person we've identified that can help us.
I'd just like some oversight of those positions. From a committee, don't want to micromanage it, but I would like a committee to be aware of who's being hired with these funds.
Right now,
if it's okay to, because this stuff is turning fast. As the mayor said, the goal is to have this up and running March 1st.
Agreed. And I don't want to micromanage, and I understand time is of the essence, and
But we can certainly push emails out.
Include us in this hiring. Let us know who.
I don't have a problem with that.
Beyond what might be privileged or private, I think it's important that we know, with this money flooding in, that the mayor has some accountability to the commissioners
Sure.
On who's being hired and where this,
We already have the money. Matter of fact, the money was sent to us,
Oh, gosh, this seems like the next day.
as soon as we talked to Mrs. Strobel, the money came in and was deposited.
Well, it was, I mean, the
And so Mr. Beatty put it in the bank.
timeline was ridiculous. With the notice on January 8th, you had to apply for it by the 12th, and I think it was there.
We had no idea
Week
what we were going
later.
to do, but I told Reba to go ahead and sign my name to it and apply for it. We'll figure out the details later.
That's the 10 million we were talking about in the investment report at the start of the meeting. So-
Correct.
That's that 10 million I told you that came in and, excuse my numbers.
Okay.
Mr. Chair,
Commissioner, you're right.
my understanding on this grant is that it's only for counties above
200,000 in population.
Direct, money direct to communities were for those communities that were over 200,000.
So this is just a question of curiosity. Why were the smaller counties left out?
They're not
Well,
left
they're
out.
getting it, but it's all being administered through THDA. And so by us going around Mr. Perry at THDA, he was going to siphon off half of it anyway,
10%.
just for THDA, and I knew he didn't have the staff, so he's using the same company, Horn, that we are.
So all the counties can
All the counties are
apply.
getting.
Counties are getting it, but not like what we're getting, so.
Oh, yeah.
All their money came through the state of Tennessee.
Right. Right. All their money, the rest of the place went to the state of Tennessee.
THDA.
And ours came directly from the U.S. Treasury.
It's
Yes.
similar to the COVID relief money. Our money came through the state of Tennessee, whereas Davidson counties came straight to Davidson County from the federal government. Our money came through the state of Tennessee for the COVID money. That's same center program.
Thank you. I was just kind of concerned.
Now, do we need a motion to
I think
take this to the full commission, or have we got
The
that?
contract, well, I guess it's, for me, it's
Need a motion to
accept the contract.
accept the contract, so the contract will be between, I'll have to sign it, but it will be between Rutherford County and Horn LLP.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to do what it takes to get this contract executed, pursue this money. It's a great cause. I just want the
The other thing is that the commission agrees that Rutherford County will handle this program, that we will accept.
number one,
the
accept the
grant
grant. Number
funding,
two,
accept the
manage it through
award,
a third party, accept the contract with Horn, accept the grant from THDA, both of those components.
Well, U.S. Treasury.
U.S. Treasury.
Yeah.
Mark's going to clean all that up.
Yep.
I just do want the caveat of we need to be aware of who's being hired in addition to the contractor, some party to help hold the mayor accountable to that hiring.
No problem.
Okay, we have a motion from Commissioner Dodd. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Second, Commissioner Gooch. Any further discussion?
Well, that
Mr. Chairman, I have a question.
Commissioner Allen, you're recognized.
Thank you. I did a quick scan through the contract, and I did find the fee schedule and the 4% max. I'm very comfortable with that. I didn't see, and I'm sure it may be in here somewhere, but just for education for the community, is there a maximum amount that folks qualify for? Is there a maximum award that they'll be given in this aid?
All of that comes through the rules and regulations, and the maximum, I think somebody gets 12 months. But there are requirements. It's okay, household income, I mean, this is not for blank slate everybody. Your household income would be no more than 80% of the median household income for this area. And this area includes, I mean, we're lumped in with Davidson County as far as the median income. So if anybody...
It's fine. I appreciate that. I know a lot of this is fluid, but if you're wanting us to help promote this, that's going to be one of the things you're going to need to help us be able to explain to other folks. How do they qualify? What's the process and who qualifies? Because we don't want, to overpromise and underdeliver and have a lot of people, reaching out to this company and be disappointed. So I just want to make sure that we're able to explain to folks who qualifies and how much and all of that. And I imagine by the time we launch it, you'll have the answers to all those things. But if there's a cheat sheet or some way you can share that with us, I think that could be helpful.
We will definitely have that. We'll put that in your hands as well, because we're going to ask all of our commissioners, all of the city council to help get the word out for our citizens here in Rutherford County. So we'll have that information, kind of like that cheat sheet. I told Lisa today, because the person that I called for this morning and didn't find out he had to go into the hospital, I was planning on sitting down with him, but now it's prompted us to get back on a Zoom call with Horn as quickly as possible, maybe by tomorrow. We need to ask what those expectations are, and we need to tell them what ours are, because we're going to be the front. We're going to be the face of this, and they're kind of the ghost operation behind us. We're going to be out there promoting it.
But
we'll get that for you.
Commissioner, if there is one thing that if anybody comes to you and asks information right now, what they can do now is to file their taxes.
Yes, file their taxes, because that's going to be one thing that's going to be asked of them, to prove
household income,
what their household income is. Go ahead and file it quickly.
Do it correctly, but go ahead and file it.
Yeah, correctly and quickly.
Mr. Allen, thank you for those questions, because they're certainly pertinent. One thing that came to mind as far as contacting people, one thing I think we need to do is to have our schools help us with this.
Sure.
Because our schools can identify a lot of the disadvantaged children.
Yes.
And get a hold of their families. And I think that's what we're trying to do here.
We've got staff in my office, Reba, and
that's
my
a great
other
idea.
grant coordinator are pulling together all those agencies that are community partners out there. The mayor
Well, I'll just tell the rest of the commissioners, I found out that we had this money a couple of days ago, and I've been contacting churches in my district and area, and had just thought about, well, I remember my wife when she was teaching,
she knew
kids
in her class
that they can identify, and these teachers and the staff administration at these schools can really be a big help on this. So that's why I threw that out there.
I think
it's a wonderful opportunity.
Yeah, that one sheet, as Commissioner Allen was talking about, if we could boil it down and get all those answers on one sheet, a cheat sheet, and hand out even to the teachers, and they could identify and say, here's it, Johnny, take this home and give this to your mom.
But again, they're going to ask you what your income is, and you're going to have to show proof. So that's why we're saying, hey, get those taxes filed as soon as you can.
Mark, is it, they're not accepting it until February 8th, is that?
February 13th, I believe, is the date, the first day that, 12th or 13th is the first day that IRS will accept a tax return and process it.
Okay. So we've got a motion. We have a second. Any other questions or discussion?
Mr. Chairman, I just had one more thing I was going to add, and we've probably already thought of this, but we just haven't said it out loud yet, and that is to make sure that we include the health department, because they're the ones who administer the WIC program and all that. So I'm certain they need to know about this as well.
Absolutely.
Anyone else? Mark, call roll, please.
Commissioner Piercy?
Yes.
Commissioner Stevens?
Yes.
Commissioner Allen?
Yes.
Commissioner Dodd?
Yes.
Commissioner Gooch?
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Commissioner P?
Yes. Motion carries.
Commissioner, there is one more thing to this one as a requirement, is that the reason why the person is behind on their tax is due to COVID.
Right, right. A lot of this is geared toward this COVID problem that
Correct.
we've got.
Yeah, if
people that have lost their jobs.
If you're working in a restaurant, you lost your job, and you got 2 kids at home, you're single parent, that's going to be much easier to prove.
All right, next is, I believe, a general fund budget amendment for emergency rental assistance. Is that,
Yes.
am I on
This-
line here?
This is the one, and this was my best attempt for now. I'm not sure on the distribution between rent and utilities, so that may be needed to be changed at some point. You see the 400 in other contracted services, that's the amount that I'd budget for Horn. As I told you, the one person, I've labeled them as an accountant, 30,000 in part-time. And again, I'm not sure what that would be used for. The balance are the benefits. And then you see 599 other charges, 503,000. That's just the rest of the 10% that could be used for administrative fees.
But if we don't use them, we can put it back into
If
the
we
program.
don't use it, and I'm not sure, I'm talking out of school, but if we have to buy a scanner for a community partner to help their clients, be able to apply for this, just assistance, that would be an administrative expense. If we don't need this, that's the other benefit. If this 500, say we use 100 for something else that I don't know what that is, the rest of it can go back into the program and help with more
rentals.
More rentals and more utilities.
Okay, is this just for information, or do you need a motion?
We need to put this on our books.
Yeah.
Okay, I thought you said this was still
Transfer.
fluid.
It's a transfer.
It's my best guess for now.
So we may end up trying to amend it.
We may amend it. We'll probably amend it along the way.
Okay, you've heard the request is basically to put numbers to what we just approved. Do I hear a motion?
I think it's appropriate that I continue with the second motion since I approved the first one. I want to stress the accountability that the mayor's office owes to us for $574,000. That I'm including the $44,300 that's to a part-time person and $30,000 that appears to be going to a part-time person,
Or
plus the $500
many
that we've lumped.
part-time, yeah.
Just, we just want to make sure.
That we keep y'all in the loop of what's happening.
That clear? Does that make sense, y'all?
I'll second that motion.
So we have a motion and a second. Any other discussion?
Lisa, I'm also mentioning we've set this aside in a separate function on its own, so that particular function will show up in your monthly report, similar to what the COVID relief funds do in a separate line item. So you'll be able to track those individually.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, call roll, Mark.
Commissioner Piercy?
Yes.
Commissioner Stevens?
Yes.
Commissioner Allen?
Yes.
Commissioner Dodd?
Yes.
Commissioner Gooch?
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Commissioner P?
Yes. Motion carries. Thank you, guys. Next is a general fund transfer for the health department. And let's see.
I'll do that one. Okay, so in this function, the local health department, we pay $125,623 every year to the state for Rutherford County's contribution to running the health department. Because of this large phone system upgrade that we're doing, we are asking them to help contribute toward that, and they're going to allow us to not pay them $14,000 and keep it within this function, but to pay for some wiring or something that's related to that phone system upgrade. So this is a transfer of $14,000 from contracts with government agencies to DP Services.
So it's not new money.
It's not new money.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to approve as presented.
Commissioner Allen makes a motion.
Second.
Second, Commissioner Johnson. Any other discussion? Call roll, please.
Commissioner Piercy?
Yes.
Commissioner Stevens?
Yes.
Commissioner Allen?
Yes.
Commissioner Dodd?
Yes.
Commissioner Gooch?
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Commissioner P?
Yes. Okay, motion carries. All right, next up is item 25, additional funding for 20 North Building, 3rd floor. And who is going to cover that? Lisa or Mayor? Or, oh, okay.
Mr. Mankins here as well, since he's representing the PBA.
Okay.
And I'll assist, Ben. Okay. Members, you see here, thank you, Mr. Chairman, you see additional funds needed, $422,594.44. If you will go down to window replacement, we have another bid that is coming in tomorrow from another bidder. This was not figured into the original replacement, but some are cracked, some have holes in them, some of the windows don't close. I don't know why that was never included. But anyway, we felt that it was best, the PBA felt it was best to go ahead and replace the windows. So we'll have that alternative quote in for, I believe there were 72 windows, I believe, total in the building.
There might be a few more than I'm sorry, I can't remember exactly.
And
you need to use the microphone, Mr. Mankin.
Here you go.
People at home and the other committee members can't hear you otherwise.
It's kind of well, Ben. You step back.
I'm not exactly sure. I can't remember the exact number. I'm sorry.
Well, if you recall, we took the funds from the sale of the bank building, the old Mercersburg Bank building at 805-909. We did get the final executed copy between General Jones, the Office of the Courts, or excuse me, the District Attorney's Conference is who we are contracting with for the Children's Services Department that will be moving into the 3rd floor. So you'll see actual numbers that came in. We were only estimating of what it was going to cost to demo that 3rd floor. So you'll see there it's $72,000.
72,000.
I'm sorry, that's the architect fee at $72,000, and then the demolition was $107,769. So we're asking for additional funds needed at $422,594. I'm requesting that money come from our governor's grant that we still have. You'll find that on your SharePoint.
There, 420, almost 423 is needed just for this 3rd floor. There's
correct.
Additional needs from a couple other, well, at least one more change order. That's on the 2nd page.
Yeah, but that 150 is not just for the 3rd floor, that's for the entire building?
That's
on windows.
Right. For the 3rd floor plus the windows.
Right.
Is this need for $423,000. The 2nd page lists all the change orders to date. That's what I was saying. Down here is another almost $15,000 for the cast iron sanitary sewer pipe. That's an additional amount. The 3rd page lists the change orders and where we are to date. There's more furniture yet to be purchased, reflecting, and those that are on this committee, I've seen this report similar to know on that budget available that we're short with all that in mind. And the last page is the mayor's recommendation of where to fund this change, all changes.
And if you look, members, on that last page, you'll see halfway down the page under sheriff, it talks about new fencing. And that is for the sheriff and dispatch. And talking to the sheriff in Preble a few weeks ago, They want to erect a fence. The problem they're having, I was told, and Sheriff, you'll confirm this, that you actually had a homeless person actually come into the building and use the restroom. I don't know how that happens, but you know, that whole Sallyport area needs to be secured, right? With are your plans to put in a card swipe for entrance to the gate, automatic gate?
What it is we're one of the few facilities in the state that's a wide open facility. We have no fencing, no way of locking that facility down. One of the problems that we've got is we have people wandering around the back of the building. We have people wandering around in the Sallyport. We're finding civilians in the Sallyport when cars pull in to unload prisoners. And so what we're trying to do with the fencing is secure the property where we can eliminate a lot of these problems that we've got as people walking in secured areas. This would include card swipe fencing, and then also it'll be controlled from our control center, whereas if we've got people coming in from out of county to bring in prisoners and whatnot, then we would be able to let them in with a code from our central, but that's what the plan is.
Thank you, Sheriff, and also so the estimate for the Sheriff's Department fencing was $100,000, and then we estimated about 50. It could be high for dispatch over at Southgate for our dispatch center. And I think after the bombing in Nashville, we realized that that facility is totally wide open, and how vulnerable we are for a dispatch facility without a card access. They'll put a gooseneck up and where our dispatchers can come into the facility and park. We just can't take a chance of anything happening to that dispatch facility. So that's the only new thing. Of everything else on that page has already been approved in the past and run by you. That still leaves us with 1.3 left in that governor's grant that we're going to need to try to expedite, because those funds have to be expended by May.
I think it has to be obligated by June.
June. Okay, so we'll be working with all the different departments trying to take care of what their needs are and come back to you on that. So this is our request tonight, is the
460. Is to use $460,000 of the governor's local support to move to the old judicial building renovation.
Mr. Chairman.
To recognize Commissioner Dodd.
Ben, the original contract for 20 North was 3.45. I'm on page
That second one.
2. And total change orders have increased that original contract, have increased it by 1.4. $1 million of that's the third floor renovation, correct? And then 115 windows, and okay. And these are all the numbers that we've seen come through property management, correct?
That's correct.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
I think those highlighted ones we've all voted on all the way through the
Right. We
commission.
have, just to make the committee and the community aware, we've processed these by the month through property management. We've worked with Ben, and we've received estimates, and we've received hard bids, and so this is just the culmination of the property management's observation of this project, correct? Thank you.
The PBA also they monitor the change orders too as we go through.
Motion to approve.
Commissioner Dodd makes a motion to approve. Commissioner Johnson seconds the motion. Is there any discussion or questions for any of these folks? Hearing none, call roll.
Commissioner Piercy?
Yes.
Commissioner Stevens?
Yes.
Commissioner Allen?
Yes.
Commissioner Dodd?
Yes.
Commissioner Gooch?
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Commissioner P?
Yes, motion carries. And we're down to other business, and I'm not aware of any. Someone else has it? Not. We are adjourned.